Let's jump into the safety environment a little heavier. What is your opinion of the safety status in the crane industry as a whole?
Much improved in the last 30 years. I started in 1977, so I've seen it dramatically change. There's still a lack of training. It's what it gets down to is a lack of safety and service training. Budgets are tight, and you can't just have anybody run the crane these days. So more training, more specific type training is needed for all the products of all the cranes.
So the economic conditions may have an effect on our safety status of our country?
Yeah, I've seen the numbers since '05 dwindle in California, and they're not putting the money into the machines to repair them. They're certified inspecting them, but they're not being used as much. So the wear and tear and that kind of stuff, a lot of machines are sitting more than they're running these days.
What seems to be the biggest demand in your safety seminars for safety subjects?
Probably load chart interpretation. Most of the guys have never had any training in regards to load chart, stability, structural, anything. So as we know, all men are bad at math, so now the CCO program provides calculators. But I have learned through my own efforts that if you teach a student to do all the math longhand and then just use the calculator to double check your work, you're fine. Because most guys are rusty at math. But once they get an understanding of any of the load charts for any of the cranes, they feel an accomplishment that they now know how to read a load chart, because it's basically add up your deductions and find the gross capacities and subtract, and you find your net capacity. So they feel a real relief, no matter what size crane, when they thoroughly know the load chart, main boom, jib offsets, whatever. They feel more accomplished, and that's a big attitude adjustment, because safety is basically all about attitude. And if you don't have a proper, positive, safe attitude, you're going to have accidents, and you'll probably go out of business.
The load chart knowledge to pass?
Right. There's site setup, there's capacity chart, information, wire rope inspection, all different things that the CCO program meets the criteria for both ocean and sea in regards to the program. So it's a broad range, and when you become certified through CCO, you're a certified mobile crane operator. So you need to know about crawler cranes, truck cranes, boom trucks, the whole variety, and how each crane is different, but a lot of it's similar in design and fashion.
Do you sense any backswell in the industry, any kind of resentment against the safety regulations and what they're required to do?
No, I would tell you just the opposite. And most all large associations, whether it be oil, gas, wind energy, mining, whatever, have pretty much come on board with the CCO program. I stated earlier, over 120,000 people have been certified in the country. Most everybody's on board with it. They realize that if the guy has gone through class and gone through hands-on training, you have a much better employee and a safer employee. And what I try to tell the guys is the more I can educate you in regards to safety, the better employee you're going to be. And we all like to see them get out and retired in one piece. And it's a dangerous business, finger biting, and dangerous business.
Do you think the trade unions provide any kind of a national solution to our safety conditions?
Well, most of the international operating engineer groups are on board with CCO. Some of them are really beautiful programs. There's one I talked to a friend the other day from Chicago with brand new machines and all kinds of great training efforts. So a lot of it has to do with money available, but there are some really first class operating engineer programs in the country, and they're all different. The Northwest versus the Midwest, but they're basically in step with everybody else, trying to provide a safer environment for their people as well as anybody. So the certification program isn't a really union or non-union issue, it's a safety issue. And everybody wants their job sites to be safer, And the more educated the guys can become, the safer they usually are.
Do you have any suggestions to the crane industry as to how they might improve the safety status of our system?
Well, more training. It doesn't have to be required, but especially on new products. Typically, people that purchase new products are in the crane business, and that's not the biggest part of the market. The bigger part of the market are people that use machines about 60 ton and less, boom truck and rough terrain, for maintaining items out on their job sites. It could be a municipal water plant, it could be a mine, it could be wind energy, but they're maintaining things with cranes. And that's still, in regards to mining, which is over 50% of my business, is MSHA still has an issue with accidents on mines in regards to 52% of all accidents at the mine are hoisting maintenance related accidents. So they're fixing something with the crane. And there's a lot to fix at a mine site, but it's rigging intensive and set up on the side of hills. It's really, really tough work. And we know that people that maintain things with cranes tend to have a higher accident rate because it's so involved with many people and their hands being involved with rigging different items. And usually components that are not symmetrical but have a heavy end to them, typically. They're picking up kind of weird shaped objects.
Center of gravity is hard to find.
Yes, it is.
The certification and licensing is required by the federal people for construction industry. You mentioned mining. Is there also an organization besides NCCCO, or does NCCO cover mining as well?
Well, that's kind of still up in the air a little bit. The mines have been somewhat hesitant to get on board with CCO, but I think being a federal law that they'll have to fall in line, and there's a lot of cranes at the various mine sites out west for sure. And you got to remember that covers a lot of industries. That could be salt, gold, copper, aggregate, sand. It covers a lot of the mining business. So the mining business uses a lot of cranes, and they need to be proactive when it comes to training and certification for cranes. They're pretty good on dirt equipment, but the crane is usually one thing they don't understand and have been trained properly on.
Let's go on to government regulations, because you just brought up MSHA and all these government entities. How do we make, or do we have to make a difference in these government regulations? Are they on target, or do we feel like they're being a little onerous and a burden on the industry, or where do we stand with government regulation?
Well, it took us 15 years to get the FedOSHA rule in print. So for some of us that have been in it 30 years, it took a long time to get an effective law in writing. Now, some of the states may choose to revamp those laws to meet their specific needs, whether it be port application or timber or mining or whatever. But the whole idea of everybody being on the same level playing field in regards to certification and general knowledge has been overlooked for way too many years. So the CCO program, which is backed by both OSHA, ANSI, Crane Manufacturers Association, Specialized Crane and Rigging, the basic crane people in North America, we've had to come together as a group to elevate everybody to education of the fundamentals and just load chart and wire rope inspection. And now we've gotten to that level, we need to take it to the next level of even more thorough training, more safety training, and then as well as regional training for the manufacturers and distributors prior to some of these bigger sophisticated machines going out in the field. These new 200, 400, 600 ton cranes that are going out in the field are like freight trains, and we're coming up with new portions in the program as far as a lift director, assembly disassembly director. A number of incidents happen with modular counterweight these days. Just to put the machine together, you may have to hang 10 pieces of counterweight off the back of the machine. So rigging the counterweight, fall protection, implementation of new ladders, guardrails, fall protection, stuff like that on the cranes. has been needed for too long. So I'm very excited, and even though I'm into the training business, this makes a safer environment for all involved in the crane and rigging business. And it's basically step one, but it has been embraced by everybody.
Do you think we're at a point now where we should be thinking about upgrading the federal regulations to today's needs?
Well, you got to just stop and think. It took us 15 years just to get current for last November in 2011 and 12. So the gears of Washington D.C. tend to turn a little slow out there, and that's why, to some effect, we have a patchwork, but it's not too bad. When we first got into CCO, we wanted a national program that everybody was involved with. Each state, being a state, can do whatever they want, but we'd like to have uniformity, and that's why the CCO program is a certification process that lets you be totally portable. So that is your card, where qualification is the employer's card. So the certification program through CCO lets you be portable internationally. And good for 5 years, then you just need to come back and regroup and take a written exam.
I'd like to talk a little bit about cranehealth.com. Is there any benefit from having a website like this that's available to the industry?
Yeah, I think there is. Trying to pull together all the various groups and markets together to one site so they can interact can only be beneficial to everybody's educational process. And I don't think that anybody would be anti having this community put together. And I think as it grows, you'll see more and more people get involved with it as a centralized hub for anybody involved in the crane business. I've tried to do that with my website, and as have others, but you've got to keep people active these days as far as searching and finding information from your website.
Good suggestion, good comments. Thank you very much, Brian. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
All right, I appreciate it.
I learned a lot.
All right, thank you.